Akira Toriyama. Even if you don't know who he is by name, more than likely you've seen his work at one time or another. Toriyama's impact on anime and manga is widely regarded as legendary. His influence extended beyond simply advancing modern animation. It also coincided with the rise of online fandom, as the internet became more prevalent, accompanying anime releases both in Japan and internationally. Additionally, his contributions to video games like Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest were highly praised, showcasing some of the industry's finest work. And Toriyama's distinctive art style was evident in every project he undertook, serving as a beacon of inspiration for countless creators. When I was originally planning this video, I was planning on making it only about the recently released Sandland game. And that's because I didn't even know that the Sandland anime existed. After just recently finishing the game, I went back and watched the entire anime series and read the manga. I have to say, out of the three formats, the game falls the flattest. This is no fault of Akira Toriyama or to some degree the game developers. It's hard to tell a story that has different sides to it through only one character. And because of this, the storytelling from the anime and manga is a lot richer with deeper character connections. I'd also like to mention that there is a Sandland movie that came out before the series, but it's basically the first 6 episodes of the show, so it's pretty much irrelevant to talk about. Before we get into the video, I just want to give a spoiler warning. If you have not watched this show or played the game, and you want to enjoy it at its fullest, I highly suggest coming back afterwards. Anyway. Sandland takes place in a world where humans and demons live alongside each other, albeit separated by a deep-seated animosity. A drought spanning over 5 decades threatens their existence, until a sheriff strikes a deal with the demons to locate a legendary water source, rumored to be vast enough to revitalize all of Sandland. Sandland is a brief manga written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama. Toriyama's art style is unmistakably present throughout the manga. Some people don't like his distinct art style. Personally, I appreciate his style. Despite being a quick read, Toriyama manages to intricately develop a post-apocalyptic world that possesses its own charm. Overall, I found the story enjoyable. While it may not be Toriyama's best work, Sandland offers a quick and entertaining read. It's reminiscent of Toriyama's earlier work, Pink, which also explores themes related to water scarcity. While Pink evokes a Star Wars-esque vibe, Sandland adds its own demon-themed, wholesome charm, reminiscent of another Toriyama manga, Kawa. Toriyama's portrayal of demons, not inherently malicious beings, is a recurring motive in his works, evident even in characters like Majin Buu, who is surprisingly not evil. His skill in crafting these morally ambiguous yet endearing characters shines through in the creation of Beelzebub. General Shiva, or Rao, is another standout character who's brimming with personality, making it easy to cheer for him and hope he achieves his objectives. Moving to the Sandland anime, the animation is fantastic, particularly in its attention to subtle gestures and the nuances of character movement. The character animations were meticulously crafted with full 24 frames a second, resulting in incredibly smooth motions. The integration of 3D backgrounds with 2D elements provided a refreshing and visually appealing look. The 3D hybrid excellently captures Toriyama's original characters and artwork, blending whimsicality with the high-spirited adventure from the source material. This is particularly evident in large-scale battles, like the intense confrontation when Rao and friends clash with a squad of tanks in the 3rd episode. Toriyama's reputation for imaginative and intricately detailed mechanical designs is well known. While this trait is evident in his work on the Dragon Ball franchise, such as Bulma's motorcycle, flying ships, and the capsule technology, it takes center stage in Sandland. Here, the protagonist commandeer a royal military tank to confront Supreme Commander Zhao and the corrupt king of Sandland. The series is split into 2 parts. The first 6 chapters adapt the Sandland manga, while the subsequent 7 chapters introduce a new arc in which Toriyama played a significant role in, including the video game. The latter part is particularly captivating as we become attached to new characters like Anne and Lilith, and we uncover the existence of angels, some of whom harbor a deep resentment. It's an arc brimming with action, featuring even Lucifer himself. Despite a somewhat predictable ending, it's satisfying and wraps up Beelzebub's journey toward strength and maturity. I personally enjoyed the second half of the story more than the first. This would be mostly due to the characters we meet. As previously mentioned, we meet Anne, who acts as the group's introduction to Forestland, and even more dangerous foes to take on. During the first part of the anime, the story is pretty similar to the manga. Rao seeks out the demon's help to find the legendary spring, and throughout their journey, they are constantly dealing with the royal army, mostly General Are, who seems to be a bad guy, but throughout the story, you see him slowly learn the truth about the explosion 30 years ago that wiped out the Peachy. And the one behind the explosion? None other than Rao himself, but that's not all there is to it. You see, Rao used to be a general in the army, and he used to go by General Shiva, but unbeknownst to Shiva, he was being lied to and used to basically commit genocide by Commander Zhao, the big bad commander who's actually secretly controlling the king. So after the explosion all those years ago, everyone thought Shiva was dead, but he changed his name, and he became a sheriff. You may also have thought this story was about Beelzebub, and while it is to some degree, the story is mostly a redemption arc for Rao, as he finds out some of the Peachy actually survived, and the remaining few live in the legendary spring that he's been searching for all this time. To protect the Peachy, they decide to forget all about the spring and attack the king's water supply, and with this came the answer to all the problems befallen on Sandland. Upon reaching the king's water supply, they realize the river did not dry up. The river was dammed shut, and this was undoubtedly the actions of Commander Zhao. Sandland is saved by Rao and the demons after destroying the dam and defeating General Zhou with the help of General Are and his men. Now, getting into the second half of Sandland, remember how I mentioned that part 1 wasn't about Beelzebub? Well, the second half pretty much has him as the star of the show, as he has a personal motive toward the antagonist. And the main antagonist during the second part of the series is Muniel. I think I'm saying that right. Muniel is an angel who despises not just Beelzebub, but all demons. Muniel isn't exceptionally strong, especially in comparison to Lucifer or Lilith, but regardless, Muniel managed to bring the demon kingdom to ruin and seal King Lucifer and Lilith, leaving Beelzebub to rescue not just his father, but demonkind. Muniel's goal in all this is to steal the Aquanium Lucifer had, which it's basically a nuke. In using the Aquanium, Muniel revives a deadly Garum battleship, a weapon that could destroy Sandland. You can probably gather that for an angel, he isn't much of a good guy. In fact, he's incredibly egotistical and only cares about power. This is shown countless times throughout his time on screen. Him and Beelzebub are pretty much complete opposites. Beelzebub is a fiend that's supposed to be a scary evil demon, but he's actually a nice guy who secretly does care about humans and helps save humanity whenever it's called for. While Muniel, the hero, is supposed to be a nice, helpful angel, but he does not care about humanity at all and only wants power for himself. Commander Bread, who acts as Muniel's right hand, is also an antagonist throughout most of the series, but just like with General Are, he eventually sees the error of his ways and helps Anne and sides with Beelzebub and his friends. The story had a nice ending, with Beelzebub getting a beautiful Akira Toriyama style power-up, saving Lucifer and Lilith, and reuniting Anne with her mother and Biel's with his sister. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that Lilith was Anne's mother and Biel's sister, and Anne is actually a fiend. Anyway, moving on to the Sandland game. Sandland feels like a game plucked from the start of the millennium. This game, along with the anime as well, bears a heavy weight with being one of the last projects Akira Toriyama was involved with before his death earlier this year. Unfortunately, the anime surpasses the game adaptation. Sandland's narrative falls short due to the lack of meticulousness that defines the source material. While the central story remains engaging, the player's perspective through Beelzebub lacks crucial nuance and context regarding the world's backstory. Dialogue between characters often ranges from mediocre to cringeworthy, with an excessive amount of obvious exposition. Character relationships and developments also suffer, failing to match the depth seen in the anime adaptation, which is a significant letdown. In Sandland, you play as the fiend prince Beelzebub as he and his companions embark on a journey to find a water source for his country, which has been besieged by drought. Yada yada yada, we explained all this with the anime section. The writing often leans heavily on cliches and predictable conversations to quickly move the story forward. This is especially noticeable in the stiff cutscenes where you have to click through each line of dialogue manually. And these scenes fail to capture the potential for genuine moments of excitement or emotion. There are pre-rendered scenes, but they are too infrequent to fully engage the audience in the adventure. Sandland has the potential for thrilling storytelling, but it falls flat compared to the manga and anime, which is disappointing because witnessing Toriyama's iconic art style and character designs come to life in a game outside of Dragon Ball is truly delightful. This adaptation impressively captures his blend of exaggerated goofiness tone with an underlying darker theme. The standout feature of Sandland lies in its vehicle system, the cornerstone of its gameplay. Players can select up to 5 vehicles to accompany them, each with unique capabilities and strengths. This flexibility allows for diverse strategies and tailored approaches to different situations. For instance, the initial vehicle at your disposal is a tank from the Royal Army, and this became my preferred choice for fights. Later on, you acquire a jump bot designed precisely for agile leaps over rocky terrain, and the motorbike offers blistering speeds, enabling swift traversal across vast desert landscapes. The transition between vehicles is swift and seamless, enabling instant changes even during intense battles. The combat is straightforward. Most encounters are manageable with your reliable tank as long as you can dodge incoming projectiles, albeit somewhat repetitive. Boss fights demand a touch of strategy, creative problem solving, rapid reflexes, and attentiveness. Moreover, there's flexibility to experiment with diverse builds using collected vehicle parts from varying rarities. This customization empowers players to upgrade preferred primary and secondary weapons, typically a projectile launcher and a gun. Maintaining your vehicles in prime condition is crucial. This is where Sandland's crafting and gathering aspects become vital. Regular upgrades are necessary to match enemy levels, and fortunately, the resources needed for this upkeep are mostly obtained organically through enemy drops and discoveries in the open world. Tailoring each vehicle with unique weapons or swapping engines and chips to significantly alter their performance, allowing players to feel the tangible impact of their upgrades and modifications. Although the vehicle system deserves praise, it's rare to encounter challenges that fully showcase its capabilities. This is partly because of the limited variety of enemy types and the lackluster AI, which also extends to many of the bosses. Consequently, battles often devolve into repetitive tactics like circling around foes and unleashing attacks, making victories feel less satisfying. As a result, despite the vehicles being a standout feature, I couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed as I completed Sandland, wishing for more innovative and engaging challenges. While Sandland predominantly emphasizes vehicular combat most of the time, sometimes we get hand-to-hand on-foot combat, which stands out as a notable weakness. This aspect feels somewhat superficial, seemingly included only to facilitate scenarios requiring Beelzebub's personal combat. The game features a basic skill tree for upgrading attack damage, special attacks, and item effectiveness, alongside perks and summonable abilities from accompanying companions. However, these action brawler style fights often devolve into button mashing, lacking fluid controls and the satisfying impact of successful strikes despite telegraphed enemy attacks. The side quests are rather dull. At the start of the game, you establish your base in Spino, an abandoned town that you gradually develop by persuading people you encounter to relocate there. As you recruit more residents, the town attracts additional merchants, expanding the range of goods readily available to you. While the main area of Sandland may seem like a desolate expanse, there's a certain charm in traversing the vast desert stretches and viewing the imposing landmarks like the abandoned battleship in the Junkers Market, a hub for scavengers. However, the introduction of the forest land introduces a welcome change with its lush greenery and expansive views. The winding paths and dramatic cliffs lead you through various points of interest, including optional diversions like caves and ruins teeming with valuable resources. Although the side quests and hunting missions are fairly straightforward, they add depth to the world, offering rewards and resources and experience without bogging down the game with unnecessary filler. While you explore the world, characters often chime in with unhelpful advice, reminding you to check the map if you're lost, or suggesting actions you've already completed moments ago. They even remind you to inspect your gear regularly, which might be useful if you've never played a game before. This constant repetition of basics made me wonder whether Sandland is primarily aimed at children. However, the tonal inconsistencies within the game made me doubt the likelihood of that being true. Despite its numerous flaws, I found Sandland enjoyable. The vehicle gameplay is a standout feature that kept me engaged, even if the side quests felt lacking and open world repetitive. Having a powerful tank that could swiftly dispatch enemies compensated for these shortcomings. However, if you are seeking the ultimate adaptation of Toriyama's manga series, this game may not meet your expectations. I'd recommend watching the anime instead. With that being said, overall, Sandland is a great story. It was an amazing experience, and it was amazing to experience a new story from Akira Toriyama that wasn't Dragon Ball. Hope you have all enjoyed the video. If you actually made your way through the entire video, type Toriyama in the comments. Let's see how many people actually did. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.